Gamers, today we're going to be talking about the new meta in the game and my opinion now that it's been kind of 4 weeks almost into the DLC. So I kind of predicted initially that the meta will most likely go away from Pro Scouts and that we're going to see a lot more 2 town centers, we're going to see a lot more castle rushes, a lot more just straight up all-ins, and that some civs might still do Pro Scouting. So if you guys remember a video that I released about a month ago at this point, I predicted that maybe civilizations like French, JD, Jushi, Legacy, China will still be going for Pro Scouting, of course Rus, and then maybe Malians. HRE, we don't get to see a lot of in pro play because it's banned, and I also predicted perhaps, I think OTD, because without Pro Scouting, OTD is pretty bad, and most of their civs will probably choose not to go Pro Scouting anymore, even though every civ used to go Pro Scouting. So this is actually kind of what's been happening, and I honestly thought that the meta was going to be heavily into, or like about 50% of the games would be 2 town center, but at the very top level, the meta is all over the place now. I think style-wise and how many options you can do and what you can do and different playstyles is more now than ever. So I'll quickly do a rundown through the civs and what they're currently going for and what they're currently doing at the pro level. But honestly, at this point, I think you can pretty much do anything you want with any civ, unless you're like tippity top player. So I'm going to talk about what I have played with, against, and in pro level play seen or played against. So Byzantine, I have seen 2 town center Byzantine actually being back. It was very short-lived when it did happen, but now it's back. I've seen 2 TC Byzantine. Byzantine has a very interesting style with super early cisterns right now. You go to level 5 very quickly, and then you kind of macro out of it, put aggression, whatever. But we've also seen Hippodrome. So we've seen 3 different playstyles for Byzantine since the DLC started, and players are still experimenting, obviously. But I think that's really cool, because Byzantine used to be like a very much limit tenay longbow or limit tenay javelin, and that's it. That's all you do. It's always the same game. But now there's a little bit more diversity in the builds, and it kind of makes me wonder, because I do want to make season 10 builds. I know we're already like almost a month in, but I do want to make build order guides for every single civilizations. But I hope you guys understand it's 18 civs now, so it's a bit harder than what it used to be when we had 8 that I kept up every season pretty easily. And even if I do choose to do a guide for a civ, I honestly don't know what kind of build order I should do, because there's just a lot of options, basically, like I said, with every civilization. So Byzantine has 3 styles. Japanese has been very cool. I was wrong about Japanese. Japanese is a lot better than I thought it would, and it's kind of interesting because the Pro Scouting nerf, together with some of the buffs that Japanese got, Japanese is played a lot, quite a lot at the pro level on land maps. So not on water maps, not on hybrid maps. It's actually not played on water maps anymore. Because it is considered a bit too slow, because they did receive some water nerfs. No, it's still played, but it's not the best. It used to be like the best thing, right? But I actually thought that Japanese is gonna be okay, maybe playable on land a little bit with like fast castle rushes, but there's a super cool new style that people are doing, and I suggest you try it. And it's basically, I'm probably gonna do a guide for it. Actually, after this video, I'll do a guide for Japanese. So basically the style is you open barracks in Dark Age, but you don't actually attack with it, you push the deer. So the biggest issue with Japanese is the food. So even if you do a castle rush, you run out of food and you die. But if you manage to push like even 3 deer to your town center, it gives you enough food to survive and kind of extend the castle age and survive and go on from there, which is really, really cool. And we've seen Japanese picked a lot in this tournament. And not only we've seen it a lot, but it was picked fairly early, like a 2nd or sometimes 3rd pick in the draft, which is very fast. Japanese had those picks before on hybrid maps and on water maps, but never for land maps. So it's very cool. Abbasid, okay. So initially, when about a month ago, when I discussed Abbasid, I thought Abbasid was about to be back, and I was wrong about that too. Abbasid is not back. In my opinion, it's probably the worst civ right now. I thought that 2TC being more viable, Pro Scouting getting nerfed, I thought Abbasid is gonna you know, pop up and be a thing again, but it just does not seem that great, to be honest. And about a week ago or so, I made a tier list and I put Abbasid in D tier. So yeah, it's not doing too great. I think the problem is it's just too slow. But if you're Abbasid main, you know, don't be discouraged. It doesn't mean you can't play it at whatever level you're playing. I also suggest you to try to not do 2TC. Try to do trade Abbasid. The camel traders that Abbasid has are super quick, and it's actually quite fun to play with. It's not very good at the top level, but I think it's quite fun to play around with and use, so try that out. Ayyubid, another civ that I thought would do a lot better, and it's actually performing pretty poorly, which I can actually show you guys that. So Ayyubid actually has the lowest win rate with 2 and a 9. Now, I don't think Ayyubid is that bad, but you can see Ayyubid, Abbasid, and English, the bottom 3. So I think those are the 3. Actually, no, I did not put Ayyubid lowest. I actually thought Ayyubid would do a lot better with, again, Pro Scouting getting nerfed and Fast Castle. I thought it was going to be a lot better, but it just not there. And I'll explain why that is a little bit later. China and Jushi, these two are cooking. They're more than fine. They're still going Pro Scout. The meta with them has not changed much. They're still doing Pro Scout, except now you have the option, like you do Pro Scout into Fighting, Pro Scout into Fast Castle, or you can also do 2 Town Center if you want. So their styles have kind of remained. French and JD are still doing professional scouting, but we have seen a lot of 2 Town Center from both of these. So French and JD, we've seen 1 TC aggression with no pro scouting, just super fast aggression. We've seen super fast aggression into pro scouting. And we've also seen both JD and French go 2TC in pro level games quite a bit on maps where there's a lot of food. So again, even though the pro scouting is still good, the meta has kind of opened up a little bit more for other things. So you kind of have to scout your opponent and not just be like, oh yeah, you're going to go pro scout for sure. Knights Templar is still all over the place. I think people are still trying out stuff. There's so many things about this civ. Recently, their units got buffed, and I'm sure they're going to get more changed in the future just because there's so many units. But Knights Templar right now are played as a civ that is good in Dark Age. So it's usually played on maps where Dark Age fights are happening. And the reason for that is you don't need a lumber camp to drop off your wood. It's very good on water maps, obviously, because you don't need to build lumber camps. You don't need to walk for wood. And you get a little bit of extra food from dropping off wood. So they're played as like a Dark Age civ, and they're played on water maps. But at the same time, we've seen them in the tournament plenty on just regular, normal maps where people just do a fast age up into Kingdom of France and then just go Chandelier Knights and Archers. So like a pretty standard Knight Archer comp with Pilgrims to kind of support your economy. I thought Knight Templar 2TC is going to be a lot more of a thing. It just hasn't at the pro level. I don't think I've seen it once. While I was playing the ladder, I met it quite often. In the tournament, I don't think I've seen it one time, which I found very interesting because I thought it would be a lot stronger, but there it is. But still, they got 3 different kind of styles or things that they're used for. HRE is still extremely strong. And now HRE can go Pro Scout still, and it's very, very good. But HRE is also back to its regular style. If you guys remember pre-Pro Scouting, which was instead of Pro Scouting, if you don't like Pro Scouting, now you can also go for like early farms, and you're just adding 1 farm around your chapel at a time. You put like 8-10 villagers on wood, you're producing units, and you're just slowly adding farms. So that kind of style is back too. So HRE now has that to go with. I've also seen some 2 Town Center HRE, but again, very cool that there's multiple playstyles. Order of the Dragon, the only 2 things that I've seen that work, one was 2 TC Order of the Dragon, which I thought had potential. Some people are using that. And the second one is Pro Scouting Order of the Dragon. You simply need food with this civ. You run out of food way too quick, and if you don't Pro Scout, you're dead. So at least 2 TC has opened up for them. So there's that. Delhi is sadly, I say sadly because Delhi has been Delhi for extremely long amount of time. Just aggro, take sacred sites, and then after that do pro scouting. Not much has changed with them. They're still very good, but the style is pretty much the same. English. Do I even speak? I prefer not to speak. English at the pro level is doing very bad. That is, I think doing very bad is a nicest way I can put it. It might be in tournaments, together with Abbasid, the worst civ. The reason for it is, I've talked about this in my stream like twice now. Basically, English on water maps, like full water maps, is really good. Like on Holy Island, on Baltic, on Mediterranean, or Baltic is Mediterranean, or Boulder Bay, like those kinds of maps, English is amazing actually. Hybrid maps, English is okay. Land maps, it's a disaster. The reason it's a disaster is they simply are, in my opinion, outdated civ quite badly, and I think that's the main problem that it has. So what I mean by that is their economy is very bad, like very, very bad. They have the increased farming bonus, but every other civ has like some kind of economy bonus where they don't have to do anything, they just have it. Right? English has to build farms to unlock their economy bonus. And if you build farms early, you're going to get overwhelmed with units at the pro level. So it's just not really good. The best style to use that I've seen people have success with is to TC into like fighting or fast castle white tower to defend yourself. But even after that, even if you do that, the opponent just takes the whole map. Like if you're playing against pro scouting civ, they will take the deer, then they're going to fast castle probably even faster than you, then they're going to take the relics and sacred sites, and you're still building farms at home, and they're just cranking units from the deer. So I think it's just a bit outdated. All their bonuses are fighting bonuses. Like men-at-arm production is faster. You can have men-at-arms in Dark Age. Farms, which is, again, you need to invest into it. And then you get attack speed, which is cool, but that also is like, oh, you have this bonus, but you have to fight around towers. So even that is like a bonus with a but, you know. Whereas a lot of other civs just have bonuses straight up, and they just gain those bonuses immediately once something happens. And English is not like that. House of Lancaster. Now, I don't really know what to think about House of Lancaster yet in terms of like what the best style is, but there's a lot of different styles, and a lot of them revolve around manners. But I have seen Abbey of King 1 TC all in. I have seen 2 TC Abbey of Kings. I have seen House of Lancaster on water maps, on hybrid maps. I have seen Lancaster Castle into 3 manners, into full all in, 3 manners into Castle Rush. I've seen 6 manners into all in, 6 manners into Castle Rush, and then I've seen 9 manners into Castle Rush. So the amount of variances with House of Lancaster are quite a lot. I feel like the most out of any civ, because they completely change like the timings and when you do stuff and how you do stuff. And I don't really know what's the best, but I feel like people are still testing what's going on. And House of Lancaster did receive 2 nerfs in the last 2 patches, if I remember correctly. So they are not like, I don't think they're S tier civ anymore, just because they've received a lot of nerfs, and now people are readjusting and trying to kind of recalibrate what's good with them, what the best way to play with them. Because before it was like you could do anything and still win, right? Now it's a lot of things got nerfed. A lot of things got nerfed for House of Lancaster, but they're still good civ. Malian is pretty cool. Malian has the regular cow boom is back, so people are using that. Which we haven't seen in like 6 months. So the regular cow boom is back. The pro scouting is still there. The pro scouting into cow boom is now a thing too. And then one of the more interesting play styles, if you guys have watched any pro games or maybe you encountered it on the ladder, pro scouting into aggression, into fast castle, and then you go Farimba, Mansa Javelineers, and then you just mass Javelineers. That style is very strong. It's very like active, and you gotta micro a lot, but it is a very strong style. So that's another thing that through this DLC and DLC patch came through, which is quite cool. You have like 3-4 different ways to play Malians instead of just one. Mongol, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a bit like this with Mongol, and I'll explain why. I thought Mongol was pretty bad when I did the post DLC prediction review, whatever. Then I did a tier list, and I don't think I put them too high up. But then in like the span of 2 weeks, I played against a lot of Mongol on the ladder, and I was losing a lot. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. And then I played Mongol, then I was winning a lot. And then Mongol started getting picked in tournaments a lot. Like a lot. And I was like, I guess Mongol is good now. But then when I looked at the win rates, Mongol is 5-12 in the tournament. So I don't know what to think about Mongol, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I thought it's bad, then I thought it's really good, and now I'm not really sure. I think it's okay. The playstyle, basically, there's 2 playstyles. There's the Dark Age Tower Rush, which has actually fallen out of popularity quite a bit at the top level. You only do it in very, very few matchups. And people tend to just do fast age up into like double Keshik or double Mangudai opening, putting some pressure and then going fast castle. Very similar to like old Mongols. When I say old, like 3 years ago Mongols. So that's kind of how people have been playing Mongol. And you don't even see trade anymore. People just go deer stones and just play Mongol the old-fashioned way. Ottoman has been seeing a lot more play than in the last patch. And again, all these civs that we haven't seen in the last patch are seeing a lot more play because of the pro scouts being weaker. I've seen 2 TC Ottoman, I've seen 1 TC Ottoman, I've seen full all-in and feudal, I've seen fast castle. So I think people are still experimenting at the top level with Ottoman, but there's a lot of different styles and stuff. And then last but not least, Rus. Sadly, or not sadly, depending which way you want to look at it, Rus Pro Scout into Fast Castle is still the best by far. That's what people are doing, and Rus is still incredibly strong. Now, the meta right now, what I wanted to discuss, the meta right now is very much all over the place in a good way. So last patch, like last season, we've basically had pro scouting with every civ. Like even Ayyubid and Abbasid were pro scouting at one point. Basically, no. If you didn't play pro scouting, no matter what civ you played, it was kind of bad and it was kind of a disadvantage. So now that has changed quite a bit. And the reason why that's changed is because all the pro scouting changes and all the other changes that have happened since the DLC and so on. So I would say the meta right now is very healthy, and I want to show you an example of the new mechanics in this patch. But I think the meta right now is very healthy in terms of, I don't think we have the same thing over and over again. I have seen, in this last tournament, I have seen pro scouting. I have still a good amount. I have seen 2 town centers. I have seen Dark Age rushes. I've seen plenty of fast castles. I've seen deer pushing strats. I've seen just 1 TC aggression all out. And I think that's really good because compared to the last season, we just saw pro scouting and that's it, like I said. And now we see like a healthy mix of everything combined. And I think that's very good for the game. Obviously, some civs will still lack compared to the others at the top level, but I genuinely think the game is in a really, really good spot right now, balance-wise. And I think whatever civ you're playing at whatever level, you're going to be more than fine. Like if I play ladder, I can, go 10-0 with Abbasid. That doesn't mean Abbasid is unplayable. It's just like if I play a tournament, because we have certain amount of civs that we need to pick, I would rather pick some other civs over Abbasid, if that makes sense. So I want to show you this, which I think is quite cool, and to give you a little mini guide for this map. So this map is Enlightened Horizon, or whatever it's called. It's one of the 2 maps that has points of interest. Someone can correct me on that. One is High View, which has the map vision points of interest, which I think are pretty cool, and I liked it. I wasn't really sure about points of interest when they were announced and when they came out, because I was like, I don't know if that's for AV4. And I actually think they're quite good and create quite different gameplay. So High View, you have those towers that you can capture and you get vision. Enlightened Horizon, you have Merchant Camp and Wolf Den and Lost Ronin. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation how we will be playing these maps in the future that have these points of interest. Basically a little guide for this map. So if you're playing ladder, you can play this map and probably win a lot of your games if people are not aware of this. Because people in the chat have asked me, like, why do pros always do this? People don't do this on ladder. So let me explain why. So the meta right now on this map, which is very cool, and this is only because of these points of interest. This gives you 15 wood, 15 food, and 15 gold every minute, which is equivalent to 1 villager, okay? Which means if I cap it by 1 minute, that means I will be 7 villagers versus 6. Being a villager ahead from this point ahead is massive. So initially, we started as everybody else. We didn't really bother with these. We would capture them with the scout. But people figured out, well, if I make a barracks and I capture this, I can capture his too, and then I'm 2 workers ahead. Right? Like, that's pretty big. Even if you don't do much with spearmen after, you're 2 villagers ahead, which is very, very good. Now, on top of that, on this map, there's these wolf dens. When you burn them, at 30% health, they give you gold, or when it starts burning, sorry, it gives you gold, and you get 150 gold. So not only you get the value of capturing this with spearmen, but you can actually, the meta at the top level is to go to this and destroy it ASAP, and with a little micro trick, you can actually age up without mining any gold. So the reason I really like this, and the reason I changed my mind of points of interest, is because this incentivizes a different kind of gameplay, and it opens up AoE 4 into Dark Age more, which is something that I remember a lot of people did not like, that there's nothing happening in Dark Age. Well, devs find a way to potentially make a lot of the maps more interesting, and to have a lot more aggression early on in the game, and for the game to be a lot more active. So I thought that is very, very good and very, very cool. So here, a very popular thing to do is to bring a villager to the merchant camp. So the villager starts capturing it, and then you build a barracks right there. Okay? So as you're capturing it, oh, I messed up here actually. I sent the villager back, but you can just build a house there too. And if you build a house there too, by the time the house finishes, you can send the villager back, and the point is captured, and you can already go to the wolf den. Okay, so the moment you capture this, you go to the wolf den, and you can see my opponent is also doing the same. Now what you want to do is you want to put 1 unit like this, 2 units together. When the wolves come out at 70%, you just run out, and you get 150 gold. And now you can see I am almost at the age up. All my workers, 13 out of 15 are on food right now. I'm almost at the age up, and you don't need to mine any gold. So points of interest like these on the maps create, I think, for very, very interesting gameplay, and different kind of gameplay that I think can add a lot to the game. And one thing I mentioned to devs a few weeks ago is I think these points of interest can make some of the old maps that suck, they can make them good and fun and playable again, right? So right now the game kind of transitions normally, but again, you're still active with these spearmen. You can go capture merchant's camp from the opponent. You can go where his deer are to kind of mess up his deer. He already killed mine, so I go to his side to try and mess his deer up. And you can be like aggro from the get-go and just put pressure and be annoying to your opponent and so on and so forth, which I thought was really cool. You have a little bit of extra income from here. So again, it kind of changes the game. It keeps the game fresh. You can also capture the abandoned outpost for vision. And also there's Ronin. So if you're ever playing a Civ and you're floating too much gold, you can just summon these Ronins. They're actually pretty good because they're instant summoned. So you're not going to build an army out of that. But they can be pretty good to just be like a backbone to your army or something, or like just a little bit tankiness to your army for just gold if you're already floating the gold. I think maps like these, like I said, are really cool because it becomes kind of like a mini battle around these merchant camps where it's not game ending if you don't have it, but at the same time, this adds over time. 15 wood, 15 food, 15 gold every minute, times 2. That is pretty good. So I can see devs adding these things more in the future. I don't want them to add them on the maps we already have that are good. Like I don't think they should add these on Dry Arabia. But I think they can, you know, take like the pit, you know, the map that is considered not very good. They can take that map and maybe put some points of interest to make it interesting. Again, that's why they call points of interest, because they're interesting. So if you're playing this map, by the way, civs that are good, basically any civ can create Spearman in Dark Age and just do it. The best civs for this, though, are Japanese, HRE, potentially Order of the Dragon, Knights Templar. JD is actually pretty good at this, because the longer Dark Age you have, JD is getting more XP, so there's a chance she joins the fight in Dark Age as a warrior, which is pretty good. English is pretty good, House of Lancaster is pretty good, Mongol is pretty good, and Ottoman is pretty good as well. So that's it. Like I said, I think the meta is in a very good spot right now. I was pretty wrong about 2TC being the meta, like majority of it. We do see some 2 town centers, but the meta at the top level is still very, very aggressive with some castle rushing, with some pro scouting, but with a little bit of 2TC as well. So yeah, we'll see what the future brings. We'll see if we're gonna have any changes soon that change up the game more or something like that. But I think the balance, like I said, is never going to be perfect. But I think design-wise, this is very good because we have 4 different styles in the game right now, and I think that's pretty exciting. So that's it. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I'm literally probably live right now because I am doing a subathon day 25 of 24 hour a day streaming. Yep. And if you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.